Jai Mahamaya ki Jai. Vishveshwari Mata ki Jai. Mother Saraswati Mata ki Jai. In our last discourse, we heard about all the gods and singing praises to the great goddess, Mahamaya. And she's saying that she had it all organized of how to lighten the burden of Mother Earth, and said that all the different gods and goddesses would have to go to Earth to help. So let's read about chapter 20. Vedavyasa said, I now narrate to you about the relief of the burden of the earth, the destruction by the Yogamaya of the armies of Kuruksetra and Prabhasa, the two sacred places, and about the birth, due to the curse of Brigu, of the Bhagavan Vishnu of unparalleled prowess, under the influence of Mahamaya in the race of the Yadu. Now here. Vishnu taking birth in the world was effected under the circumstances caused by Yogamaya to relieve the burden of the earth. This is my opinion. O king, when the goddess Mahamaya, the incarnate of the three qualities, can make Brahma, Vishnu, and the other devas dance incessantly as their internal controller, then what wonder that she would appear charming to other jivas and make them dance incessantly as wooden dolls. All the troubles incurred in remaining in the womb she has brought to bear finally on Vishnu by her ever-famous Leela, her divine sport. In days of yore, in the Rama incarnation, she, that supreme goddess, made the gods become monkeys, and you know very well already what an amount of trouble Bhagavan Vishnu had to undergo as Rama by the hard iron chain of bondage. This is mine, this is I, imposed by Maya. The yogis who want final liberation, who have abandoned all their attachments and who want devotion, they worship the supreme goddess of the universe, the incarnate of auspiciousness. O king, who will now serve her? A trace of devotion towards whom affects at once the salvation of the jivas. If any human being utters simply the name Bhuvaneshwari, the goddess of the universe, she gives him the three worlds, and if anyone cries and utters, for help, save me, then the goddess of the universe, being unable to find anything that she can repay him as a fit recompense for his utterance, becomes herself indebted to that person. O king, know vidya, knowledge, and advidya, non-knowledge, spiritual ignorance, her two forms. Vidya gives liberation, avidya causes bondage. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, all these and their avatars are the instruments and are under her subjection, are as if they are all fastened by a cord. The Bhagavan Vishnu sometimes resides in Vaikuntha, sometimes resides in the sea of milk and enjoys pleasures, sometimes fights with powerful demons, and sometimes performs elaborate sacrifices and performs severe asceticism, and sometimes takes to deep sleep under the guidance of Yogamaya. Thus he never becomes free and independent. O king, and like Vishnu, Brahma, Shiva, and all the other gods, Indra, Varuna, Agni, sun and moon, and other celestial gods, and the Munis, Vashishta, and other rishis, all are incessantly controlled by the supreme goddess as if they are the dolls in the hands of a playing magician. All the devas are controlled by the noose of time, just as oxen are brought under control by men by strings passed within their noses. Pleasure, pain, sleep, lassitude, idleness, and other passions and feelings are always found inherent in every embodied being. The devas are written down by authors in their books as not subject to death or decay. This statement is merely nominal and not real, for whoever is also subject to birth, growth, decay, and death, How can we call them immortal or beyond old age and death? Why do the devas get into sorrows and troubles? How can they be called gods? How can one enjoy when one is involved in a trouble? In this world, it is seen mosquitoes and other insects born from water die after a very short time. So like these, the devas, at the expiration of their ordained life period, die too. Then why not the devas be treated like those insects? Why not shall we then term them mortal? Some human beings live 1 year, some others live up to 100 years. The devas live longer than men. The life of Prajapati Brahma exceeds those of the devas. Shiva lives longer than Brahma, and Vishnu lives even longer than Shiva. All these are thus subject by turns to birth, growth, and decay. Those who are born, they die. Those that die are again born. Thus, O king, in this world all the jivas, no doubts, move round and round like a wheel. The jivas are deluded by the network of moha, charms, and thus deluded. They can never gain final release so long as Maya exists in them. Their delusion is not destroyed. O king, at the time of creation, Brahma and all the other things came into existence in due order, and these will duly dissolve at the time of the great dissolution, the pralaya. Whatever is the cause of destruction to any body here, that destroys the body in question, according to the willpower of the Supreme Goddess. Whatever is created by Brahma, none can do that. Know that this is perfectly certain. Know that the predestined law that the birth, death, old age, diseases, pain, or pleasures overtake all the jivas according to the prescribed order of nature. Never these laws failed to operate in their actions. See, the devas that we see with our physical eyes, such as the sun and the moon, yield pleasures to all. Still, they suffer always troubles at the hands of their enemies. For instance, Rahu and Ketu. They always take place regularly, solar and lunar eclipse, when they are in the ascending and descending nodes. This suffering is never removed. The son of the sun, Saturn, is always injurious to people, hence it is termed manda, bad. The moon was attacked with conception and bears stains on its body, spots on the moon disk. What to speak of ordinary men? The great men even are subject to the prescribed laws of fate and nature. The creator of the world, the four-faced Brahma, is the author of the Vedas and a warder of intelligence. He too, on seeing Saraswati, his own daughter, was afflicted with passion. When Sati, the wife of Shiva, left off her mortal coil, Shiva, though he could remove the sorrows of all, was very much sorrowed and greatly afflicted. Then being burnt very much, as it were, by the fire of passion, he threw himself down into the water of the river Kalinda, and the water of that river became black-colored, as if burnt by the burning fire of the sorrows of Lord Shiva. O king, when Shiva, being infatuated with Kama, went into the forest of Bhrigu and became naked, began to copulate. The ascetic Bhrigu, seeing him in the status, exclaimed, "O yogi, you are shameless," and cursed him. Who is the first of all created beings and possessed of reason and discrimination? Oh, what a great wonder that he could not know about the golden deer when Vishnu, as Ram, was deceived. Judge, O king, yourself, the great power of Maya, that even Ramachandra was deluded by passion and very much grieved for the separation from his dear wife Sita, and wept much for her. Greatly deluded, he began to cry aloud and asked the trees, "Where has gone my Sita, the daughter of Janaka? Is she devoured by the rapacious animals, or whether is she stolen by some mischievous persons? O brother Lakshman, I am being consumed by the fire of separation from my beloved wife. I will commit suicide now. O Sita, I am very much moved by your separation. Where have you gone, leaving me here, O dear-eyed one, O one of the thin waist? Come, give life unto me. What shall I do? Where shall I go? My life is entirely dependent on you, O daughter of Janaka. I am your darling. I am very much depressed owing to your separation. Please come and speak to me words of hope and courage. Though Rama of unequaled prowess roamed about weeping from forest to forest, yet he could not find Sita. He who is the refuge of all the worlds, the lotus-eyed Rama, got entangled into the delusion of Maya and had to take refuge himself under the monkeys, and with their help constructed the bridge across the river, crossed the ocean, and was thus able to kill the demons Kumbha, Karna, and Ravana. Then Rama got back his Sita before him, but suspecting, since she had been stolen by the vicious Ravana, made her take an oath, though it is to be remembered that Rama was all-knowing. O king, the power of Yoga Maya is very great. What shall I speak of her great power? This whole cosmos is always urged into activity by her, and thus goes rolling on and on incessantly. Thus, in various incarnations, Bhagavan Vishnu was always under the influence of previous curse and also under the control of destiny, and had to do various functions incessantly. O king, now I will speak to you about the birth of Sri Krishna in the world for serving the purpose of the gods, and will narrate his Leela. In days of yore, on the delightful banks of the river Kalinda, there was a place called Madhubam, where lived a powerful demon named Lavana, the son of Madhu. That wicked demon was exceedingly arrogant on getting a boon, and he used to give an enormous amount of trouble to the people. Satrugna, the younger brother of Lakshmana, killed that uncontrollable demon and built a very beautiful city there and named it Mathura. The intelligent Satrugna, the destroyer of the enemies, installed his 2 lotus-eyed sons in that kingdom, and when his end came to an end, life came into an end, he went to heaven. Afterwards, on the decline of the solar race, the Yadavas, born of the race of Yayati, occupied that Mathura city, giving salvation to all. O king, there reigned in Mathura city one Yadava king, a valiant warrior named Surasena, and he enjoyed all the pleasures of Mathura. Under the curse of Varuna, Vasudeva took his birth as the son of this renowned Surasena, as the part incarnation of Kasyapa. He took up the profession of a Vaisa and engaged himself in agriculture. And on the death of his father, the prosperous and wealthy Ugrasena became the king of Mathura. The powerful Kamsa was the son of Ugrasena. On the other hand, the king of Devaka had a daughter born to him named Devaki, the part incarnate of Aditi. She, under the curse of Varuna, followed Kasapya as Vasudeva. The high-souled king Devaka performed the marriage ceremony of his daughter Devika with Vasudeva. When this marriage ceremony was over, a voice was heard from heaven saying, "O fortunate Kamsa, the 8th son of this Devaki will take away your life." The powerful Kamsa, hearing that voice from the heavens, was surprised and took it to be true and became very anxious. Kamsa began to argue in his mind. Once he thought, I would today destroy her, then my death will not take place, for I can't see any other way to escape this difficulty. Again he thought, she is my sister, daughter of my paternal uncle, and therefore fit to be worshipped. How can I kill her? Lastly, he came to the final conclusion thus, she is the cause of my death, though she is my sister, fit to be worshipped. To kill her will not lead me to sin, for it is enjoined by the wise, do even a sin to avert one's own death. The sins can be remedied always by penance. Therefore, to save one's life by committing even a sinful act ought to be done by the wise. The vicious Kamsa, that arguing, holding the scabbard in his hand, drew from it the sword and dragged and caught hold of the newly married handsome woman by her hair to kill her before the presence of the public. A cry of universal consternation and distress arose on all sides, seeing Kamsa thus ready to kill Devaki. Then the warriors under Vasudeva at once raised their bows and arrows ready to fight. These wonderfully valorous warriors loudly exclaimed to Kamsa, leave Devika at once, leave Devika at once. And then they were finally able, out of their mercy, to release the Devika from the hold of the vicious Kamsa. Deadly battles ensued then between the powerful Kamsa and those valorous warriors on Vasudeva's side. Seeing the exceedingly terrible battle, the old Yadavas asked Kamsa to desist from such a battle and advised him thus, this Devaki is your sister. You ought to pay her respect. Did you not consider even for a moment that she is yet a girl? O hero, you ought not to kill her at this time of this joyous marriage ceremony. O valiant warrior, the murder of a woman is intolerable, destroyer of fames, and most heinous crime. You should also consider that learned persons ought not to commit such dastardly acts as the murdering of females, depending simply on a voice from heaven, a very ordinary thing. It may be that some of your Vasudeva's enemies has uttered the harmful word, hiding himself from your sight. No reason can be shown contrary to this. We are of opinion that to ruin your name and to destroy the house of Vasudeva, some magician, expert in the magic, black magic, your enemy, has framed this voice from heaven. You are a hero. Why do you fear the words of a devil? We firmly believe there is no doubt that this is done by your malicious enemy to ruin your name. O king, what is destined to take place will take place. No one can stand against it otherwise. Therefore, at this marriage festival, you ought never to kill this your respected sister. Though made to understand thus by the old wise Yadavas, the king Kamsa did not desist from his purpose. Sri Vasudeva, versed in morals, told him, Kamsa, these three worlds are established on truth. I say in truth that I will hand over to you all my sons born of the womb of Devaki, no sooner they be born. And if I do not deliver to you all those sons, no sooner they are born, then all my forefathers will fall down into the hell called Kumbhipaka. The descendants of Puru that were present there, hearing his truthful words, praised him repeatedly and told Kamsa, Vasudeva is a high-minded personage. He is surely not to tell a lie. Therefore, O thou blessed one, now leave Devaki and be free from committing the murder of a woman. Thus made to understand by the aged, high-minded Yadavas, the king Kamsa accepted the truthful words of Vasudeva and abandoned his anger. Then the sounding of instruments was sounded, and their sounds filled the place, and all repeatedly uttered, Jai, Jai. Then the famous Vasudeva, the son of Sudarsena, thus pleased the king Kamsa, and freed Devaki, and surrounded by his relatives, he went quickly, without any fear, to his own house, accompanied by Devaki. Here ends the 20th chapter in the 4th book of the Srimad Devi Bhagavatam, the Mahapuranam of 18,000 verses by Maharishi Veda Vyasa on Devaki's marriage. Jai Mahamaya ki jai, Vishveshvari Mata ki jai, Bole Baba ki jai.